Hello and welcome to episode 75 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is December 7th, 2020. And if everything went well, you will just have seen an intro to my videos that's new. And thanks to my husband who put all the little video bits together. And also a big thank you very much to my nephew, Jonathan Rhombie, who composed the music. I'll put his details underneath the video in the info box. So if you are in need of a musician who doesn't have a lot to do because of Corona and you need music composed or arranged or whatever, feel free to contact him. He's very talented and and in need of work. Okay, so I am wearing something very new, something very old today, and I'm pretty sure you will have recognized my shawl I'm wearing today. And because I presented it last week as a finished object, I don't really have to say a lot about it because you've seen it, and the yarn is by Wolldackel, a German hand dyer who dyed these beautiful colors and put them together in a set, especially for the Slipstravaganza mystery knit along. I'm really happy with how it came out and I've been wearing it a lot and very, very happy about that. Somebody asked me how big the shawl got after I blocked it, and it's about 1.80 meters, so 180 centimeters. I think that's 6 feet, right? From one side to the other. Yeah, I really love it a lot. And if you want to know more about it, I think I talk about it more in the last episode. The cardigan I'm wearing is, as I said, very old, and it was the first window shop model that I knit for Wollerödel when I was working for a German yarn company, and we had to knit all the pieces that went into the shop window, and the deal was that the yarn was paid for by the shop. We put in the work and knit the thing, and then it was in the shop for at least 3 months to be shown to customers so people could see what the yarn looks like knit up. And once the time was up, we could keep it, and we could either keep it for ourselves or we could give it away, we could try to sell it, we could do whatever we wanted. And especially in the beginning, I would knit, or I think most of the time I was working there, if the color was a color that I liked, I would usually knit in my own size and keep the things and try to wear something knitted every day. So this is what it looks like. It's a very big yarn, so it's very quick knit. And I was actually going to show something else I'm wearing today. That's even older than my cardigan, and that's my skirt. So I am wearing a knit skirt today, and this is what it looks like. And the pattern is from a knitting book that was published in either 1903 or 1905, and it used to belong to my great-grandmother. And I inherited it from my grandmother when she died. And there are 2 books that are the same age, basically. And I've knit several of the things in the book. And I really enjoy just looking at these old patterns and the old techniques that they used. And in the book, it's supposed to be an underskirt. So I think they wouldn't have worn it as a proper skirt, but because winters are cold and they didn't have the same kind of heating that we have today, they would knit themselves skirts to wear underneath the nice skirts just to keep warm. And I thought, well, I can show it. I do sometimes wear it as an underskirt just to keep warm and put something else on top, but very often I will just wear it like this and show off my hand knits. Yeah, so that's all there's something else. I am wearing hand knit earrings again, and this time it's the smallest gnome that Sarah Shearer has designed so far, and the pattern is called I think it's No Fun Like Gnome Fun, and these are the smallest gnomes that she has in the pattern. And if you can knit them with thicker yarn, they come out a bit bigger, but this is fingering weight yarn, and I think it's a yarn, yeah, it's the yarn that I used for another mystery gnome. That was it was the autumn mystery gnome. Forgot what it was called right now, but that's the colors that I used for that. And so I used the leftover yarn because you hardly need any yarn to make these, and I think they're really, really funny. So the beard is only stitched on, and the nose is like stitched on, and it's very little knitting to be done, but I think they're really, really funny. Yeah, so that's all I'm wearing apart from my socks, but I never show my socks. So if you want to see my socks, you can watch my, oh no, the sock special is probably, I never did that in English. So if you want to see my sock special, you have to go to my German channel and check out the socks episode. It's in the specials playlist. And even if you don't understand German, you could look at the socks if you wanted. Anyway, so that's what I'm wearing today. On to finished objects. I have 2 finished objects today. I think both were quite obviously almost done last week, so no big surprise here. It's the Rhombie socks by Pink Zombie Designs, or Pink Zombie on Ravelry. And it's this very subtle pattern that's created by knitting slip stitches in one color. So it's a very nice and subtle pattern. It has this special heel that I hadn't done before. It's a short row heel with wrap stitches, that's it. And I used alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm. It's really beautiful, beautifully soft. And because of all the floats that you get by slipping stitches, I guess these socks are going to be really, really warm and soft. So I'm very happy to have those finished. The pattern is, I knit them as a test knit, and the pattern has been released now. So if you go on to Ravelry on my project page, I link to the original pattern, and you can go and get either this pattern, or there are 3 other patterns that are similar to this one, and you can either get a single pattern or you can get the whole ebook. Rhombie socks by Pink Zombie. And the other finished object, that's another gnome, and it's the green gnome. I think I had everything, I had all the pieces done last week, and I just needed to assemble it, and I needed to knit the last few rounds of the bottom, and I've put a stone in a small stone so that it sits nicely. And yeah, I'm really happy. This pattern is called Here We Gnome Again, also by Sarah Shearer. And this is the second in a series of gnomes. And this was the first one that I knit from that pattern. And this is the second. And I am planning 2 more gnomes out of this Opal series. It's their 8-ply sock yarn. And it's called, it's last year's 8-ply sock yarn, and the colors were called, or the series was called Frozen. And compared to other Opal yarns, it doesn't have a lot of color. So this is just all greens, and these are all reds, and then there's another colorway just with blues and one with grays. And because it's not as colorful as the usual Opal yarns, it's a good yarn to use with all the cables. So if you use the usual very colorful yarns by Opal, the cables wouldn't show as nicely. So I decided to knit these gnomes with this yarn, and I'm not quite sure why they're not the same size. The green one seems to be a bit taller. I don't know, maybe he's a bit rounder. I don't know, but still you can see that they're related, and right now they sit in my shop window side by side, waiting for the blue and the grey one. So these were my finished objects. Then on to works in progress. You will see not quite the same ones that I showed last week, because I didn't get round to knitting on all of them partly because I'm trying to knit a little less to help my hand not hurt so much, and also I cast on new things again. But anyway, I'll show you what I did knit on. So I continued knitting on my I forgot what it's called in English. It's like these glass windows. It has a name. I forgot. Anyway, so this is another yarn by Wolldacke, and the single color yarn is another opal yarn. And I had started that sock last week. I'd shown you the heel that I changed up a bit, and all I did was add a few more rounds to it. Still very happy with it. I changed to the mini circular needle this morning, hoping that the change from the color pattern to the single color maybe would be a bit more smooth. Like this side's okay, but this side looks a bit weird. So I'm hoping that with knitting with this needle, it might come out a bit nicer. And I think I will probably just pull on the yarn to tidy things up a bit once I'm done. I've also been thinking that maybe for the second sock, I will try to knit a pattern on the sole of the foot. Maybe just a one color A, one color B kind of pattern. Maybe I'll switch it up. I don't know yet, but I'm not too happy with the look and the feel of these. Well, I don't mind the feel of these long floats and just having this like being double. But I think it's mainly this bit that I'm not too happy with. So I was thinking maybe it comes out a bit differently if I knit a pattern on the sole of the second sock. And because the socks are for me, I don't mind having two different ones. And I would still wear them together. And as long as if I put on shoes, you can't see them anyway. If I walk, you won't see the sole. And if I sit on my sofa and show off my socks, I don't mind them being different. So that's the plan with that one. But first, before I can actually do something about the second sock, I'll have to finish the first one. And that's what I'll be working on. I have not continued knitting on the two color brioche sock. And I have not continued knitting on the two color brioche leg warmer. I've brought the first one again. I have decided to film a video to show how I knit the two color brioche, working both yarns at the same time. If you want to know how that works, there's a wonderful video by the sockmatician, Nathan Taylor. I learned from his video how to do that. So I won't do an English video because there already is one. But as far as I know, there isn't a German video out yet. So that's what I'm planning to do. And because I didn't get around to filming, I didn't knit on the leg warmer. Yeah, so that's it for socks. I'll show my new cast on a bit later. I'll just continue with my works in progress that are not socks. So I continued knitting on my blanket just a tiny little bit. Last week I showed you I was knitting on this square, and I finished the square. I added this square. So these three squares are the yarn, used to be called Drachenwolle, and I used all three skeins to knit a pullover, and that's why I put put the three squares next to each other. And this is what my little blanket looks right now. So right now it's a square again, but as soon as I start knitting, I think I decided to start joining squares on this side, and when I finish that, I'll join from that side. And I'm still joining squares from both sides because I still want it to be a bit wider, and at some point I will decide to call the width finished and then just add to the length of the blanket, but not yet, I think. I have not crocheted on the cat blanket, so still have a pile of zombie cats. I haven't even crocheted the noses yet, so that's high on my list for this week, but we'll see how it goes. And I did not continue on the Carnaby crochet along, so that's still waiting. I did knit on the grey jacket, and I think I've probably done that when I started the jacket. I'll show you what the pattern looks like, what the jacket is supposed to look like. So that's that. So this is the pattern in the book, and as I said, my jacket did not get quite as long because I didn't have enough yarn. And you can see these are the stockinette parts that I knit in grey, and the cuff and the collar, and also the part down here, they are knit in, I think it's seed stitch, and that's what I knit with black yarn. And I have finished knitting the front and back, and I have also picked up the stitches for the collar, which is why you can't really see what the jacket looks like properly, because all the stitches are bunched up on the needle now. So this is the needle. These are the stitches that I've picked up. I've picked up and knit one row. I managed to knit one row, but this is, so if I show you the back, you can see that this part is finished. Yeah, and as I'm not too tall, it's quite a good length for me. It's comes down to right underneath my bum, and I think I have 7 balls of yarn, of the black yarn now, and I hope to get as wide a collar as possible, but as long as it's wide enough that it meets in the front, that would be fine, and I would just knit until all the yarn is gone. So that's something I did quite a bit of work on. Well, not that much, but still. I'm very happy to be that far, because now it's just plain knitting and until all the yarn is gone. Yeah, I'll keep the knit along for last. So now I'll show you all the new cast-ons that I have cast on. Here we go. So I knit, I think a few weeks ago I showed you the new yarn by Hansa Farm. That's an alpaca yarn that you can machine wash. And I knit this wrist warmer. It's a pattern that I've knit before a few times, and it's not a new pattern, but I put together the number of stitches for this yarn, knitting with the alpaca yarn that wasn't machine washable, but I think it's the same gauge and the same yardage as with this yarn. And I've been meaning to write down the pattern for ages, and I've now come a few more steps closer to my goal, and I've started writing things down. So my sister typed the text for me, and last night I created a chart. It's maybe not the most beautiful one, but I think it should work. And as soon as I've put all things together, or probably my husband's going to do that for me, I will publish the pattern on Ravelry. It'll be a free pattern. Yeah, so if I get that done this week, you'd have enough time to knit a pair of, or several pairs of wrist warmers as Christmas presents, because they work up really quickly and I think they're very beautiful. Yeah, so that's one wrist warmer. I am also thinking of filming how to knit the pattern, but that'll be in German again. But I think it should also be possible with the pattern. And I'll see if I can publish it in English as well. I'll try. So that's the wrist warmer, number 1. I'll knit number 2 in front of the camera. So depends on whether I find the time to film this week. We'll see. So that was one new cast on. Then the other new cast on has to do with another pattern my first published pattern. That was the glitter spiral ball that I designed with a friend last year as Christmas decoration. And last week I was wearing the earrings when I knit a very small version of it. And it was thinking about the pattern that made me think of why not knit a hat using the same pattern. So this is a glitter spiral hat. And I'm using this yarn, opal yarn, of course. It's a very fun and bright color, I think. And I cast on so many stitches, and I just knit those spirals that I knit on the balls. On the glitter spiral Christmas ball, I knit four of those lines, one for each of the double pointed needles. But I thought for a hat it might look weird if there's just 4 of these, so I decided to do 7. And I was aware of the fact that the pattern probably pulls in, so the gauge is different than normal, but of course I didn't swatch. It's just a hat. So the number I came up with is too small for a hat for me, but I think this would make a really nice children's hat. And I didn't knit a ribbing on purpose. I thought it'd be fun to have this rolled edge. I wasn't aware that it would create those points, but I really like them. And I also like how the stripes do those funny corners. Yeah, I really like that. I'm using the yarn held double, so it knits up more quickly. I'm using a 4.5mm needle, and yeah, if this works out, I might write down the pattern as well. I've been thinking that instead of starting at the bottom of the hat and knitting up, I'm planning on doing the decreases the same way I did them on the spiral balls. But as the balls start with an increase, I thought it might be as easy to start with the like with the start of the pattern, with just start with a few more stitches, and then I could knit the hat top down, and that would mean that I can try it on. I can measure how big it gets. So I'll probably start another hat as soon as I finish this one, and I will knit that one top down, and I will try and knit in my size. Yeah, so that's just a fun variation on my spiral glitter pattern. And then the last new cast on, of course, I told you last week I was going to do that, is the Mystery Gnome by Sarah Shearer. So this is one of those gnome episodes. I'll show you again what colors I'm using. I am actually using all 3 contrast colors of this shawl. So the main color in this shawl is the color that I use for these garter ridges, or the reverse stockinette parts. It looks very white, but it has a lot more speckles than this one. So this was my contrast color 1, 2, and 3 for the shawl. And for the gnome, I needed a 4th color, so I picked this one. This is a Hansa Farm merino sock yarn, and it's very variegated. It's very colorful, but so far I really like it. And for the gnome, I chose let me see, the white is my color 1, the colorful is my contrast color, this is my color 2, this is color 3, and this is color 4. So I have a light and a dark and 2 in the middle, and I only have 17 grams of this, and we're supposed to have 20. Those both came out with, I think, 21 grams, and I have lots and lots of this. So I hope we won't be needing all of this yarn, but if we do, I'll just have to put in some other color. It's a gnome, it's not too bad. And now I'm going to show what I've knit so far. So if you are taking part in this Mystery Knit Along and you're not up to date, I haven't done today's clue. I haven't even received today's clue yet. So I've done the first 3 clues. If you do not want to see them, look away now. Everybody else, this was clue 1. And I think it's the first time that a gnome pattern started with this bit. And then clues 2 and 3 are this. And these are colors 1 and 2. So this is color 1, and this is colors 1 and 2. And I love how the stripes come out. I really like it a lot. So yeah, that's all I've been able to knit for now. Whoops. Okay, doesn't work, but you know what it's going to look like. Yeah, so I'm really excited for the next clue. It's coming out today, so later on, while my husband works on the video, I can knit on my gnome. And that brings me to my last work in progress, I think. Yep, and that's my knit along. That's a knit along we do on my channel. And it's the Flax Pullover by Tin Can Knits. It's another glitter yarn. I was thinking of doing the hat in this color, so it would go with my pullover. Maybe I'll do that with the next one. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. We'll see. And this is how far I've come. I have finished the increases, and because I didn't stop to count, I even made one increase more than I had planned. So I think I've done the number of increases now for size ML, which sounds rather big, but I did want it a bit oversized and a bit bigger than the last pullovers I've been knitting. Yeah, and I've separated for the sleeves. I've put the stitches on waste yarn. I cast on some new stitches underneath the arm. And I have established the rib pattern again that I did on top of the arm. I will continue that for the arms, and I'm now doing the same number of rib stitches underneath the arms. And as I said, it's a bit bigger than I expected, but when I tried it on, the front looked okay, but the back looked really big. But I hope that with this rib pattern on the sides, it might hold it in just a little bit. We'll see. I'll just keep knitting and I'll keep trying it on. If I think it's way too many stitches, I can add some, either I can add some waist decreases, or I could increase the number of stitches that I knit in ribbing. That might be fun too. And I could just increase the number of stitches that I do in ribbing until all the stitches are in ribbing. That's a fun idea. Hadn't thought of that before. I like it. I'm still not sure how long to make it. I was thinking either a long pullover or maybe even like a tunic or maybe even a dress. If I'm going to knit a dress, I probably won't do all the stitches in ribbing. Don't know yet. But that's the fun of simple patterns. You can, you can just get started and then you can experiment and change things on the way. And I think it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to finishing that jumper. And talking of knit-alongs, it will still take me quite a bit of time to finish the pullover, but I've nevertheless been thinking of the next knit-along that I have been planning. And one reason to do the patterns from the Simple Collections by Tin Can Knits was, of course, it's simple patterns. And I was hoping that as many people as possible can join in. But also because there are small things in this collection, like the hat, the cowl, and especially the mittens. They are really small projects that you can knit up very quickly, and you could still knit some presents if you still need something to give away to people that are dear to you. So so that was one reason to pick that collection as a knit along at this time of year. But I think we're getting closer to Christmas, and I hope most of us are finished with all their presents, and maybe it's time to think about ourselves now and knit something for ourselves. And my plan was for the next knit along to be a blanket, and I'll officially and properly announce it next week which blanket we're going to knit. I'll just let you know it's a blanket in DK weight yarn, just in case you want to look through your stash, whether you have any DK weight yarn that you might want to knit into a blanket. And I was thinking that we can take as much time as we want. We can knit into the next year, we can knit into the year after. Blankets take their time, but once you have them, you can use them forever. They don't have to fit. The gauge isn't as important. And it's going to be a free pattern. It'll be in English, so no problem for English-speaking folks. And for the German-speaking ones, I'm going to make videos. I've already started making the videos. So as soon as they are finished, I hope they'll be finished by next week, so that we can sort of kick off the new knit-along next week. But we can still knit on the old one as well. So I'll probably be knitting the pullover and the blanket at the same time. And I think it's absolutely okay for all of you to do the same if you want to join in. Yeah, so that was all of the things that I knitted and crocheted and cast on last week. I hope you enjoyed watching my projects grow, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!